The motel sat alone on the side of a winding desert highway, flanked by nothing but sand and silence. Fading paint peeled from its wooden slats, and the neon sign promising clean beds and hot showers barely flickered through a dirty sheet of amber haze. Simon had passed it on his way to the city 100 times, but tonight, with his gas gauge nosing into empty and the hour crawling past midnight, he had no choice. The front office door groaned open with an unsettling screech, revealing an old man sitting behind the desk, his eyes too wide, smile too still. "Room 6, he said before Simon asked. "Already ready for you." Something about the way he said, "already," made Simon glance over his shoulder. The key felt oddly warm in Simon's hand, like it had just been pulled from someone else's pocket. He approached room 6 at the farthest end of the single-story row, his steps echoing down the slab of cracked concrete. The door creaked open to reveal a sparse, grimy room, aged carpet stiff with dust, yellowed wallpaper curling at the corners, and a mustard-toned bedspread pulled tight as a drum. He thought he heard a low hum, almost like static, but chalked it up to tinnitus from the long, silent drive. Without undressing, he lay on the bed and tried closing his eyes, but the ceiling fan above him groaned with every revolution. It almost sounded like it was whispering something under the mechanical drone, something he couldn't quite grasp. He awoke just after 2 a.m., shivering despite the stifling heat. The whir of the fan had ceased, though it still shifted slightly as if some momentum carried it, turning almost imperceptibly in silence. Simon sat up slowly. The shadows in the room felt too dense, like they'd settled snug against every object. That low humming noise returned, louder this time, but now it carried rhythm, rising and falling like muffled speech. He pressed his ear to the wall beside the headboard, expecting plumbing or perhaps a neighboring guest watching television. Instead, it sounded like someone was whispering directly from within the wall, his name, over and over, in a raspy lilt. "Simon, you're still here?" He stumbled back from the wall, heart thrumming against his ribs, and grabbed his bag, determined to leave. But as he opened the door, he stepped into something uncanny. The corridor was not the familiar cracked and trash-strewn walkway. It stretched impossibly now, longer than the building itself, fading into blackness where a wall should have been. A figure stood at the far end, motionless, tall, and gaunt. Its proportions seemed subtly incorrect, the legs too long, the arms hanging past the knees. When Simon blinked, it had taken a step closer without moving. Still as a photograph, yet undeniably nearer. He slammed the door shut and backed away. The hum was now inside the room. Desperate, Simon tried the bathroom window. It didn't budge. He turned to see the mirror fogging, though the air remained still and oppressively dry. Letters began to appear in streaks, smeared by invisible fingers. "Lay down." Despite the terror that had taken root in his spine, pressing against his every joint and tendon, he couldn't take his eyes off the mirror. A new word etched itself below the first, "Stay." Then, just beneath that, "You're not ready." His reflection smiled, though he had not. The grin widened, crooked and stretching too high, revealing teeth that didn't belong in any human jaw. The lights began to strobe, a slow pulse that matched the thudding of Simon's heart. Each burst of brightness showed the room subtly rearranged, furniture at new angles, the bedspread rumpled as if someone had just risen from it. A shadow moved beneath the bed, long and undulating like smoke underwater. Simon stepped back and felt his foot sink. Looking down, he saw the floor beneath him was softening, darkening, as if the carpet absorbed light and matter alike. Panicked, he grabbed the door handle, only to find it blistering hot, branding his palm. Behind him, the fan whispered again. This time, the word was unmistakable. "Buried." Simon turned back toward the mirror, expecting to see his reflection, but it was gone. Instead, the glass showed the front desk man, staring dead-eyed into the mirror from the other side, mouthing something over and over. Simon couldn't hear him, but the words came easily. "Room 7. Room 7. Room 7. With shaking hands, Simon opened his door once more, and now, the corridor had returned to its expected length, the strange figure gone. All doors were dark, except one. Room 7's door stood ajar, faint golden light seeping from within, and the whispering, now many voices layered atop each other, beckoning. He took a step forward. Behind him, the door to room 6 closed on its own, and locked.